What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to A Certain Point of View here on a fine Sunday evening. And it's not like we have any sweet goodies to talk about tonight. We're just going to be hanging out, talking some things about the movie Trivia Schmodown. And yes, as the title card on the show says, we are going to be joined by SWAG member Paul Oyama here very, very shortly. But before we get to that, let's go around the table and see how the crew is doing. Jill, how are you doing on this Sunday?
I went to a tea house today, and it was very nice. And I bought myself some apricot tea, and my mom gave me one of her teacups. And that's perfect for today's show.
Yeah, Twitter definitely loved that earlier today.
I know, I saw. They were like, "Did you plan this?" And I was like,
Brian, what about you? How's your Sunday going? How's your weekend?
Good, as long as I'm not choking on this California smoke. Other than that, yeah.
California's on fire.
Did it clear up a little bit where you were?
It did down here. It cleared up a little bit. Like, it's still definitely gray, but it's not like raining ash. So,
Brian, what about you? Was it clear near you?
No, it looks like it's foggy San Francisco.
Yeah, it's same here. It didn't really change. It kind of even got a little bit more foggier, or I should say. Jill, what about you? How was or not Jill? Sorry, Molly. Molly, how was your weekend going?
That's pretty good. I played some D&D today and streamed some Fall Guys. So
yes, I love watching Molly get frustrated over Fall Guys. It's kind of the greatest thing.
Oh boy, words come out of my mouth that I haven't. I just don't know what happens. Like something takes over my body, and I get really angry. And so
it's so funny watching you and Alex play that game because it's like you're the sweetest people on the planet, but then there's something about Fall Guys that just like turns this like thing on, and it's just anarchy, and it's great.
that game. I'm gonna keep playing it until I get a crown. That's for sure. So
cool. Okay, so yes, we have quite a fun show tonight. And I emphasize fun because it could become very, very fun for certain specific reasons. We're obviously going to get into the pay-per-view that happened on Friday. We're going to talk to Paul. But before we get to that, we do have a little cool addition that we're throwing here on POV for everyone who has been following us and supporting us. Nice thing that we're very excited about, and we hope that you are as well. And that is that we are.
This is the tease that we've been teasing.
Yes, good point.
Oh,
the tease that we've been teasing for weeks now. You are correct. Good point, Brian. We are officially, and it's actually already, we have officially launched a Patreon. Our Patreon is officially up. It is available for everyone if you are interested, if there's something that you see as far as tiers. And yes, of course, our tiers are candies because that's all we really talk on this show is candies.
Love it.
If that is something that you are interested in, you can definitely check that out. It's at patreon.com/acertainpov. A certain POV is the backslash there. And so check that out and see if you are interested in anything on there. Really cool stuff that we got on there that we're very excited about. And if people are interested, we're excited to do that for them. So any thoughts on the Patreon, guys?
I am so excited for the movie watch-alongs.
Me too. I'm going to make you guys watch all the animated films that you've never seen. Like, apparently Road to El Dorado.
Yep, never seen it. Someone make me watch it.
We're gonna watch it.
Yes, Chuck, you are correct. Of course, Starburst is the highest tier. Yes.
How could it not be? Let's be real. How could it not be the top tier?
Yes, it's for
Come on,
sure.
guys. Come on.
Yeah. So that'll be in the description of the video. I don't think I've thrown it in there just yet, but I'll go ahead and add that on here very, very shortly. And so if you're interested, if you want to check it out, see if there's anything that interests you, we'd be more than happy to have you along the journey. So there is that tease that Brian mentioned that we've been teasing for a while. And before bringing our guest, one last thing. If you have any questions for today or for our guest or for ourselves, hit that Streamlabs. It is in the description below. Rachel threw it up in there in the chat. So thank you very much, Rachel. And without any further ado, I think we're ready to bring our guest in, guys. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right. So as you know, he's here. He's ready. We have Mr. Primetime Paul Oyama joining us on the show. How you doing, man?
Hello. How's everyone doing?
It's
good.
Primetime
time. Yes, you are correct. Primetime time.
Not sure how I feel about the Starburst being the highest tier on the Patreon, but that's a take for another video. That's a take for another video.
I can uninvite you from the stream, Paul. can just end it here.
Starburst are in very high regards here. They're in very high regards. Yeah. So I mean, first of all, before we get to the Schmodown, just how's everything going? How are you doing? You know, with quarantine going on and all that good stuff. Are you hanging out okay?
Yeah, I'm back to work. Speaking of work, actually, I thought I had a hard out on the show. I got called off work like 2 minutes ago. So as long as we want to go, that's fine. But yeah, honestly, my life is not that different. Like watching movies, going to the beach. That's kind of all that I do.
I will say something that's different.
So, yeah.
I do see a sweet quarantine mustache coming in.
Honestly, that happened like a few weeks ago when my electric razor ran out of battery when I was like part of the way through shaving, and I was like, I'll just roll with it, you know?
There you go. There you go.
Who knows?
You can be part of Mustache Squadron.
I was just going to say that.
When we start playing
wow.
Squadrons.
Wow, that should be just Jill and Molly and Brian and Jake should just shave totally.
So I mean, glad everything's going good there. I mean, as far as Schmodown goes, you have the first round underway. It's good to go. You got your victory. You know, how did it feel to get that victory? And of course, we want to know how does it feel playing someone like Marisol, a rookie who kind of came out of nowhere and had a vast amount of knowledge going into this game. I mean, how was that?
See, I mean, it felt good just to get off the sort of the schneid that I was on, you know, like at the 2-game losing streak in singles, like I had been on this trajectory and then things kind of came crashing out. So it was nice to get back on track kind of. Marisol, not unexpected to me. I actually kind of knew who she was before she was like even drafted and stuff. Cause like I still am sort of involved with like fan league stuff. So I saw her match, like some of her matches, and like I was aware of who she was generally. So it was less of an unknown to me than I think it would be to almost anyone else. But it was exciting. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, you know, she played so well for just entering the league. She has this fully formed character and everything. So that was good. I think just the match just felt nice. You know, obviously things went particularly my way in the match. Sorry, Molly. I know you were rooting for her in the match. But yeah, it just felt good to get a win, honestly, and to put points on the board for our faction, which is like, you know, it's such a tenuous position now with us jockeying for position. So it was good to get that, you know, those 3 points up in the win column.
Now, did it make it even more nerve-wracking that you knew who Marisol was, and so you kind of knew her gameplay and her intellect with movie trivia? Did that make it more nerve-wracking than maybe not knowing who she was?
No, I think as long as I know what I'm up against, I think that's better for me. Like, I'd almost rather play someone who is like definitely scary than someone who I don't really know much about, because I think it's that sudden rush of like, oh man, like. If you know, I don't know how familiar Roko was with Collins, but like to get that rush of like, oh, this guy hasn't missed a question yet, like that's surprising. That's different than like, oh, of course this person's going to play well. I know who they are. So I think for me, the familiarity made it less scary. Obviously didn't make her less formidable, but that part kind of eased me a little bit into it for sure.
Very nice.
Brian, you got anything?
No, you guys kind of hit my main one. I mean, it's a new person, so I mean, you kind of don't really know what you're getting into. But I mean, she seemed. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. She was a fan leaguer, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, you do have that to kind of fall back on. Were you familiar with her in fan leagues or no?
Yeah, I think I said that like a little.
Yeah,
a minute ago. But no,
I
yeah,
didn't know if you meant specific. I meant like specifically, like you have been watching her for a while in the family.
She's kind of an unconventional one because she has a much different trajectory than other fan league players, because she only played in like I think 3 or 4 fan league matches before she was drafted, and like she met people in Orlando, and it was more through that. I think that the fan league stuff obviously helped. But I think that it was more the person-to-person interaction and getting to know them that way. Like me, Chance, and Robert had 20 plus matches. So it's like that's a different kind of perspective on the sort of the fan league player. So I mean, no one really knows a ton about her because she hasn't played that many times. But I definitely knew who she was. Like I still remember like people telling me like, oh, and female competitors are kind of sparse in the Schmodown and in the fan league, sadly. So like that's always kind of news. Unfortunately, it'd be nice when the day that's not news. But I heard her because of that, and then she did well. She won her. I think she won all her matches that she played in. I'm pretty sure. So like, yeah, I definitely knew who she was though going in.
And I want to ask you now, with the teams finally officially announced, how stoked are you coming back in with Lon and Final Exam to represent Swag?
I'm excited. I mean, yeah, it just feels like I'm playing a lot lately, which, you know, to non-fans that might be annoying, but it's a lot of fun for me.
If you're not a fan of Primetime Paul Oyama, you can just like get out, like leave.
I mean, you know, you can still subscribe to see certain people. I'm not going to ruin your subscriber count here, but I think there's a good chance. I honestly, 100% honestly, I don't know who we're playing yet, but I think there's a good chance we do end up playing Marisol and Adam, considering the fact that now Adam will be playing Lon in the next round of the tournament, and I played her. And it makes sense kind of seating wise. So I think that's a pretty realistic matchup. So that's something I'm maybe looking forward to. But I mean, the tournament's kind of crazy. There's just a lot of teams. There's that obviously the unexpected entrant from the Droogs. So the tournament will be a bit of a wild card, I think.
Yeah, they have to. They would have to get past. Is it Zip and Zipper?
No, because I think the play-in is Witching Power versus Zipper and Whip.
That's what it was. It was Witching Power.
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're
so
correct.
I think that Marisol and Adam are just in the tournament, which makes sense with the way that they've played.
Yeah.
Cool. Molly, did you have anything for Paul?
I was just gonna ask, like, for her coming in as a rookie, are you impressed by her character work?
I think it's hard not to be. I think especially like
it's so good.
It's easy for someone coming in to have one thing, like, you know, either be good at the trivia only or just be good at the character work. But I think like she is one of the most fully formed, I think, competitors that we've seen in a long time. I think she knows exactly what the kind of character she is. It fits right in kind of with her own faction. So, I mean, definitely that. And, you know, she still kept it tight when I played a perfect game. So, you know, she deserves all the credit in the world.
You played a perfect game.
I'm sure she could have beat a lot of people in round one. You know, a lot of other people that maybe even people that won their matches, she could have beaten them. So, I mean, yeah, of course, like she's this kind of a budding star in the league for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we do have a couple questions that have popped in. So this is going into round two, obviously, and Brian has a question. How do you feel about playing Snyder again in round two, facing up against the Snyder?
I'm motivated, I think, just because I think, understandably, a lot of the talk about our last match is that I kind of escaped with one. You know, like I played, you know, not particularly well, especially if you count the fifth round. It is interesting if you think about that match was so close to being a TKO. Like, if I just would have had one more point going into the last round, it would have been a TKO. But I'm motivated to prove that was not sort of a weird fluky win. It's going to be much different. Obviously, like I think we'll both play better. And like a 3-round match, there's so much more kind of variability. Like one question decides the match more so than in 5-rounders usually. But I mean, it's brutal. Like when you look at the rankings that came out, it's like it does kind of suck for one of us that like 2 of the top 4 ranked players in the tournament play in round 2. Mm-hmm. And that is not the case with the other round 2 matchups, which is like definitely frustrating, I think, for me and for Jeff. But it's an exciting challenge for sure, and I think I'm pretty locked in. So I feel good about myself going into that match, and I can't obviously control what he's doing. I'm glad that the digital matches. I'm glad the digital matches are like above the waist, so I don't have to see like the weird shorts that he might be wearing if it's the studio match. But I'm pretty pumped for it. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? He probably isn't wearing shorts at all, to be honest. That's just.
I would have Can we go back to 5 seconds ago when that image was not actually?
That's fair.
That would be preferable.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, everyone in here, we have a lot of swag fans. And Samir is by far the one who continue every. Not me. Every video. Every video he does, it's drip, just constantly, all the time. So
maybe he just has a leak in his ceiling, and he's just trying to let you guys know. Like, I don't even know if it's a swag thing.
That's nice. Yeah, nice. So, and Brian had actually another question for you too. He says, "How does it feel to be part of swag compared to the dungeon? What's the difference between the two?"
It's also not just the factions different, but also the way that factions are set up now are so different. Like at the time, we were one of like really 3 factions last year, and there was only 3 players, I guess, in our faction. So it was just a different experience. There's like the whole kind of roster, and you know, we have all these different players like helping us prepare for matches. It's also just different because the character, I mean, both characters I think aligned pretty well with who the manager was at the time. Like I think it would have been weird if I was like this nice, peppy, cool dude with Kaiser. I don't know if that would have totally jived. And I think with Winston, I don't know if I guess maybe last year's character would have fit with Winston a little bit, but It's honestly just different. I can't really compare them a ton. This course of the season has been so different as well. Like this being digital matches, that stuff is almost there's no really one-to-one you can draw between the two of them. So I think different is kind of just the most obvious word, but it's also the right word to describe it.
I feel like the swag players are they're all just like uber confident.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to be a heel or face. It's just
some
confident.
certainly more than others in terms of the confidence department in our faction. I won't name names, but no, I think that Winston does instill that in us too. And I think part of it also is that we all do help each other improve. And I think that knowing that you put in that work, I think gives you the confidence in a way that in uncertainty, if I were to use a joke about the name of the show, an uncertainty would not allow you to have.
All right, so we do have some Streamlabs that have came through. This first one is actually from our last stream, caught in a little late on Thursday. And this was before the match that happened on Friday. It says, you guys are all amazing. Thank you so much. Such a boss season. I'm glad I tuned into your show. I agree with Molly. I want Bateman to win. Unfortunately, we now know that Bateman didn't win. Yeah, so and we do have a couple more here. Maxwell Haddad, thank you so much for the super
Thanks,
chat and
Max.
the Streamlabs, excuse me, and the donation. Just want to say I love you, love what you've all been doing. Think the four of you make a great team. And the Lucas Black question was absolutely valid as a 2-pointer. Leave the question writers alone.
Thank
There we
you,
go.
Max. Thank you, Max.
Hot start. We'll definitely get to that. We'll definitely get to that here in a little bit. Let me just run through these Streamlabs. So we have one from D Train. Thank you so much, D Train. Hey guys, hope you all had a great weekend. Football is back. Let's go Giants. Which match in round 2 is each of your most anticipated? Mine is Lon Harris versus Adam Collins. I mean, look, after what Adam did last week, it's fair to say that's probably one of the most exciting round 2 matchups. I'm really looking forward to seeing Paul and Jeff Snyder, obviously, with the rematch. And you know, you had mentioned how you guys are 2 top players. I'm excited to see Perry and Riley is one that I'm really looking forward to. So I don't know what everybody else is thinking.
You want to name the rest of them? You said
I was going to say.
I mean, I think isn't Bibbs playing Barbarian?
That's the one. I think just as a spectator, that's the one I'm most interested in.
Bibbs Barbarian.
Yeah,
Just because the myth of the Barbarian is this thing that the FinSock Exchange has worked very hard to create, the sort of this unbeatable, like, you know, force of trivia knowledge, and seeing that to the test, I think, against someone like Bibbs is very exciting. I think.
Yep, I agree with that too. That's gonna be a match. That's gonna be a match.
The Beast versus the Barbarian.
The Beast versus the Barbarian. We love alliterations. But I agree. Paul V. Snyder too. Excited about, and then very excited to see Perry play Riley. That's gonna be. I'm after she took out freaking Kalinowski. Like, how could you?
The top right of the bracket is getting no love from anyone on this show. Everyone's like, Ethan and Zipper, Tom and Jader. Who needs those?
I love Zipper, and he TKO'd Paul freaking Preston. Like, he didn't expect himself to do that. Like, you could tell he was stunned. Like, he was like,
a lot of KOs in round 1 of the tournament.
There's been a lot. We've said it on the show. This season is just like bracket busting and like
Upset City is the word you're looking for.
It's been Upset City this season. Like, it's been crazy. You can never really you can't predict anything anymore.
I haven't been upset about any of it, so I don't know about this upset season. Maybe a surprise season. No, I'm kidding.
Swag, listen.
Brian, did you have one?
Upsets.
Who I'm looking forward to? It's Perry and Riley, just because they have a history, and just like, I mean, I'm really curious to see how far Perry goes.
That's one of the harder to predict ones, because that's 2 people coming off like solid but not like amazing efforts in their round 1 matches. So like that is a lot of unpredictability. Like, you wonder which version of both of those players is going to show up. You kind of think that if either of them plays that way, it's going to be tough to win the match if they play the same way they did in round 1.
Yeah.
And I feel like Perry went into it not really expecting to win, and now that she has won, she like, I felt the same way. Like, once you get that win, it's like, oh, okay, well, now I really want this.
Well, and Riley's struggled on camera on the video format. Digital format. Whereas Perry kind of just, I mean, that's her job at this point. So she's comfortable with it. So
if she's interviewing like big actors, she's like, "Who is this? Who is this bum?"
Yeah.
Mark
that's
Riley.
nothing.
yeah, so
That's very true.
yeah.
Also,
All
they
right,
know each other pretty well, so
Yeah.
I think it'll
Well,
be a
if-
fun match.
It's gonna be
Didn't
fun.
they do? I want to say they did a podcast together for Collider
Yeah,
at one point.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like Brian said, the history is going to make it fun for sure. All right, we have two more Streamlabs before we get to the pay-per-view match here. This is from Sean Sullivan, not Sean Sullivan, but Sean Sullivan.
Oh.
It says,
So
"Look,
is it really
Jake."
Sean Sullivan?
Yeah, exactly. It says, "Look, Jake, I demand you remove Reese's Pieces in favor of peanut butter M&Ms. We've talked about this. I'm just disappointed. Also, hi Paul, I miss you, man." So there you go.
Hi, Sean.
And then one more here from Just a Fan, and he or she says, "So Paul, you would Molly, or so Paul, you, Molly, and Jill and Brian are amazing, right? Making this awesome show. What advice would you give to
Not
Blake or Drake
Oh.
or whatever his name is to become a
Oh.
fan favorite instead of the known it all heel?" Interesting.
He is a hero.
Jake. Yeah, people give Jake some crap in our chats.
Hey, if I have to do it for the show or the bit, whatever. It
We'll do it
works.
for the bit.
It's
Go
all
for
real, no kayfabe.
What's a kayfabe? I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
You just
Really?
said it.
Really?
I don't know what it is.
All right. I mean, let's stop putting it off. Let's just get to the pay-per-view match here, because we have a lot to discuss here, and we can start with the undercard, which is a great match to start this undercard off with. Something that we were all very excited to see: Jeannie the Machine versus the Warfather, and she walks away with the TKO up against the Warfather, 17-11. Jeanine has had her struggles this year. It's obviously been in the forefront. A lot of people have talked about it. She's been the center of attention and conversation for a lot of stuff. But she finally got over that hump and got that victory, and well-deserved, because she crushed it and played great and got the category she wanted to spin on, and she crushed the category she got. And it was just really fun to see her in such a uplifting mood after everything that's kind of happened this year. And like I said, a perfect match to start this pay-per-view off. So, Jill, what are your thoughts on this one?
I've said it before and I've said it again. I will forever and always ride the Jeanine train. I will always support her no matter what. And she needed this win, and I'm so glad she freaking crushed it. Like, she needed the win, she got the win, but that TKO was just a nice little cherry on top for her to, and she's gonna take this and she's just gonna ride. And I was so thrilled for her, because she deserves everything that comes her way, nothing but love and happiness, and she freaking killed it, and I could not be more proud of her.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, we know she struggled this season, and people were writing her off, but you never write off Jeanine, because it's only going to make her more hungry to come back and win. And she definitely did that, because she stepped on the gas and never let up for a second. She was telling Sam what she wanted to do. She was commanding from the beginning, and I mean, I don't think there was any way she was going to allow this to be anything other than a win, yet alone TKO. And you can tell that, I mean, she was very happy about it. She was elated, and she should be, because it tells everyone that's been writing her off to shove it. And we always love a happy Jeanine, and you could actually see how happy she was after on Tic Tac.
Tic Tac.
But nice.
We're clearly up with the times.
Someone watching Juno over here.
I know, right?
There you go.
On Abby Friel, the Schmodown TikTok.
Yeah, we're plugging it, Abby. Schmodown has a TikTok. Go follow.
So yeah, Jeannie, you could see her celebrating on the TikTok.
Molly, what do you think? You loved this. You absolutely loved this. As soon as she got that victory, you were so high on it.
I was so happy for her, and this match in general was just so fun to watch. Like, it made me think of the previous undercard before the Smith-Jericho match, which kind of just felt weird. It was like, it didn't put you in like a great mood going into such a huge match, but this undercard this undercard just like made me so happy. And like even Warfather, he was so great with his character, and not super upset about losing. He kept his cool. Janine was amazing, and it set us up for greatness going forward. And I was so happy for Janine. What did she spin on the wheel? I forget. Was it
Audrey Hepburn?
Audrey Hepburn. I was like,
went 4 for 4.
Yeah, and I was like not sure if that was like a strength of hers at first, and so I was like really worried. But then she swept through it, and after that I was like, damn, just damn, like.
And I will
so
add,
impressed.
I will add that if this is the last time we see her this year, awesome to end on a victory.
Yes.
Awesome to end on a victory. So, Paul, what do you think of this one?
I think this match had one of the funniest wrong answers I've ever seen in my life. When Warfather said "old boy" with like the confidence of a man who had like made the movie himself, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. His face too, when they tell him that it's wrong, is just hilarious. That's funny for so many different reasons. Like if you're like a big movie fan, the idea of Old Boy, Spike Lee's Old Boy getting like an Oscar is like one of the also hilarious in its own right. But no, I mean I think it's a good step I think for Janine to get back, and I think especially if she gets another one after this, then she'll like really be back. I think this was sort of like a sort of a stepping stone to plateau her into. No offense to Warfather, I guess, for calling him a stepping stone, but. Her record was in a really rough place, to be totally honest, and I think that she needed to string together a win or two. I think, especially with her not being in the teams tournament, I feel really bad for her. That she even said like part of the reason she didn't do the singles tournament was because she wanted to focus on Intergeekdom and teams, and then didn't end up in the teams tournament. So that's kind of a rough beat. But so I think it's great for her to with such a big audience too. With the live crowd waiting for that big match, for her to get a win like this so decisively. It was just, it was a really impressive showing by her. Warfather just got a category that he wasn't probably particularly strong in, and just kind of struggled as people tend to do from time to time when you just get that category that's just not the thing you're ready for. But yeah, I mean, she took care of business. I think I would say she certainly put Audrey Hepburn on the wheel. I don't think you get the nun story if you just are guessing or going off of some random sort of base knowledge, but. I mean, she put in a game plan and executed it pretty much perfectly. So I gotta tip my hat to her. I think it's a really pivotal match for me too.
Yeah, things finally went her way. I mean, she got opponent's choice up against Warfather, and she got a category she liked with Audrey Hepburn, and it's really fun to see. Awesome. Plus, the suspects really needed it. They were in the bottom of the standings, and they needed the points. And going into what Ethan Irwin's doing in singles, and then for the teams, they could definitely use those extra points. So with that said,
place anymore.
Yeah,
they're not
in last place,
not in last. Not that I can help anymore,
dungeon?
but
The dungeon?
Yeah,
the dungeon, right? Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was either the dungeon or the Droogs, one or the other.
Oh, it
One
might be
thing.
the Droogs.
It might be the Droogs. I think it might
makes
be the Droogs.
sense to be the.
I'm sure
Someone
someone in the chat,
confirm in the chat.
Leo, if you're in the chat, just
Yeah,
correct us
someone
when we're
confirm
wrong,
in the
man.
chat. Someone will help
You'll
us.
correct us when you'll correct. Okay, let's get to the big one here. We have Dan Murrell and Ben Bateman for the singles title match, a 5-round matchup here, and a match. Let's just start with the match in general before we get to some other stuff. Obviously, Leo said, "There you go, Burning Jukes are in last." The match itself was hyped because it's Bateman Murrell 2. We saw what happened in Atlanta earlier this year. Murrell takes the title back from Bateman. Bateman's going in attempting to get it back, and I know that after that second round, I had pretty much been holding my jaw the entire time because I was shocked at what was happening. I was not expecting to see such a giant point gap at that point. The betting round definitely played a huge factor, and then it kind of bled into some other stuff as well. But as far as a match goes, one of the best match, maybe the best match I've ever seen because of how it ended and what had happened. I mean, a 6-point differential coming back in the final round is, especially up against competitors who are going for the title, that seems very difficult. Like it's not just a regular singles match we're talking about. These are two guys who are going to play for the singles title, and you don't expect a 6-point swing to happen so quickly. So I was very impressed. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Murrell obviously struggled at points, and Bateman was definitely on his game until the very end. And it's funny because that's just how it works. That's how the Schmodown works. That's how sports works. And it seemed like every emotion was in the forefront, and that everything that the Schmoedown came out that night and in that match. And I'm very happy it did because it was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. So, Paul, I'll go right back to you on this one, man. What did you think of this one?
Who would ever blow a 6-point lead in the final round? Certainly not me in a teams match a year ago or anything like that. No, I mean, it was it was such a crazy match. And I was watching the match with like a couple other people, and it was just like, as soon as that betting round moment happened, we were just kind of like, yeah, I guess it's just over, because you kind of knew that Dan wasn't going to really mount a comeback in the speed round. I think you have to kind of figure that he's at best going to come out maybe +1. But especially when he comes out of that round down 6, I think you kind of write that match off as pretty much over. That is like the zone you want to be in going into the last round is up 6. That's like the perfect amount, I think. And, you see what happens. As soon as I heard the 2-point question, I was like, ooh, I think this might happen, because whenever you get to the 5, the best players even are maybe 60% accuracy on the 5-pointers. That's just a total toss-up. I think the stat is actually that over 2/3 of the time, if both players are asked a 5, the losing player wins the match. Like the player who goes into the round losing wins the match. So
wow,
once that sort of possibility comes up, I think you really start to get nervous. And I think especially when you have that lead and it starts to slip away, it's really, I mean, I don't know if I would say that Ben was necessarily dominating the match. It was really just the betting round, because they were even in round 1. They were just about, I think in round 2, I think they're just about even in round 2 as well. So that betting round swung the whole thing, and it felt like it was kind of over. I mean, it's just a total mirror pretty much of the Atlanta match, but even a little more agonizing, I guess. So it was just an insane thing that, it took a while afterwards to know, to really process that it had really happened the way it had.
Molly.
Yeah, I was there at the Atlanta match, and I was going to say the same thing. This was completely different. They just played differently. There was a whole different vibe, and obviously there's this whole digital aspect to it now. But this was a really great match to watch up until the point swing, and then after the betting round, it was just everyone kind of was like, what's happening right now? Is this really going the way that we think? Oh, and then it's over. So yeah, I was pretty shocked. I think Dan was very shocked.
Yeah, and Mara. Dan and Mara both were.
Yeah.
Shocked.
I was waiting for the high five.
Oh, and yeah, no one cares that Mara's in the room when Dan plays, but if Alex is in the room when I play, I'm obviously cheating.
Well, I think she specifically was not in the room, and then she opened the door because she had answered all his 5, and she was like,
yeah.
Did you lose? Yeah. Or did you lose yet?
Did you lose?
Yeah.
But if Alex opens the door to give me a high five,
you're cheating, Molly. Done cheating.
Canceled. Let's not go there. But yeah, no, I really wanted Ben to win this, and he just, I don't know, those last couple of questions, man. I can't really talk because I am terrible in singles, as you all might know from watching our reactions and our play alongs.
Me too.
I need to watch more movies that aren't Star Wars, and I feel bad for him.
Yeah, make sure Alex does that too. Make sure he watches a lot of movies that are not Star Wars. That's not really important to watch Star Wars.
There you go.
Movies. Just let him enjoy whatever he wants. You don't want that. Give
Alex wants to get into singles. I will say it right now. He wants it to do that, but he's also. I mean, come on.
I'll play him.
Anyways.
He's going to run in and be like, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet.
Brian, thoughts on the match?
I thought it was a very good match, very entertaining.
Yeah.
And I mean, regardless of the after stuff, the match itself was great. I mean, I was sitting there going, holy crap. This is not Dan at his best. I was like, is he really going to get TKO'd? I was shocked. And I mean, he ends up winning it. And I mean, our shock was felt by not only just the fans, but him and Mara also. But it was a great match, fun, entertaining. Definitely had it all over the places. I thought the wheel was going to be the determining factor.
The wheel was so hard.
That wheel was insane.
Oh my
That was a
god!
fun wheel.
That was
of course Paul said it. Yeah, it was fun. That wheel looked so effing difficult.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
that wheel.
yeah. So I mean, I fully expected Ben to capitalize in the speed round, and then, I mean, I figured they both would probably go perfect, if not have one miss each in the first round. So I mean, to me, the wheel was going to be the determining factor, and clearly it wasn't by the last round standards. But it was a great match, entertaining. But like I said on Thursday, I've learned to stop picking against Dan Murrell because somehow the man always seems to pull it out of his back pocket.
Yeah.
And
Almost always.
Almost always.
Okay,
That is true.
Other than ways against Paul Oyama.
Almost always.
Jill, what about you?
Y'all know me. There's matches where I get like insane anxiety, and this was definitely one of them. I said on Thursday that my head said Dan, but my heart said Ben, and I was pulling so ridiculously hard for Ben on this match. And then we were texting each other. We were all texting each other about this match, and I can't tell you how many expletives I dropped because there were so many things that were happening and twisting and turning. And when that wheel popped up, I literally went, what the hell is this wheel? This is the most insane wheel I have ever seen in my life. Like, what is happening? Like, there's Hitchcock on there. There's like,
have you seen the Corruption versus Founding Fathers wheel? I think that wheel is way crazier. If you look back,
will have to.
That is
an
insane wheel. That is a really, really weird one.
I'll trust Paul now.
I'll trust you. I trust you. But and then Ben landed on a Hitchcock, and then I was going, the mind game started happening, and I was going, is this a strength of his? Does he not know anything from Hitchcock? And I didn't know what was happening. And then when Dan missed the betting round question, I literally just sat and I went, oh my god. Like, oh my god. And then the round 3 happened, and I was talking to everybody here, and I went, Ben can TKO. Ben can freaking TKO Dan freaking Murrell. What is happening? And then Dan Murrell, being the GOAT that he is, got all of his third round questions correct. And then it just didn't work out in Ben's favor. And I was texting another friend of mine during the match because she couldn't watch it, and I was texting her throughout, like giving her like a play-by-play. And I had never felt, other than Smets losing to Chandru, I had never been more like, I was so heartbroken. And then of course Paul losing, which I was also very heartbroken about.
Well, that was like not very sudden though. That was like, oh, that's happening. Oh, that's really happening.
No. But
that's what that was.
For Ben to be 6 points ahead only to not win that match was so heart-wrenching for me, because I know how hard these players work for I know so many of these players, and I know how much they work towards it, Ben especially, and my heart just ached, and I went, thrilled for Dan, because I think he like officially solidified himself as the freaking GOAT of the Schmodown. But like,
was that up for debate? Was that for debate before this?
It is up for debate. Everything is always up for debate. But my heart just sank. But then we got heel Ben, so which I love heel Ben, and we got the heel turn.
Is it heel Ben?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot to discuss, and we can kind of get into it now. We've talked about the match itself. The big thing comes from the 2-point question in round 5 for Ben, the Lucas Black question. And I'm just gonna open the floor, and I'll just say, so I put this out there. I knew the question. I don't know if it's because I'm a fan of the movies. I don't know if it's because I recognize them from stuff. And so that's just my take on it. But if anybody else wants to step in and give their thoughts on this 2-pointer and the debacle that has kind of come from it the past couple days, the floor is open.
Anyone want to go before me?
I can start if you want. Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of controversy about whether this 2-pointer should have been a 2-pointer. And the way I feel about it is, I think that it's certainly harder than pretty much every 2-pointer that's been asked this season. I think it's one of the harder 2-pointers we've seen, but I also think that it's like an okay 2-pointer. I think to me it makes a little more sense as a 3-pointer, and like that was where I kind of would expect the question like that to be. But like to me, the stardom of an actor shouldn't determine the viability of asking about them in the Schmodown, and like their career outside of the movie that's being asked about. I think is like certainly like that makes it easier if they're more famous, but there's a couple of sort of analogs that I was thinking about. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Before movies, like Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight.
Ethan Hawke.
But Ethan Hawke's co-star Julie Delpy in there is a similar case of, I think she's a fair question as a 2-pointer. She doesn't really do much outside of those movies, but like those are big, important movies that are like have cultural impact. And another similar one is the 2-pointer I got against Snyder, which is who plays the title character in Lucas, who's Corey Haim, who's really only famous in the 80s. That's not really a famous movie. I don't think that it's outside the realm of other 2-pointers that we've seen at some point. It's pretty tough, but like Lucas Black is also not really a nobody. Like he was a big deal, especially like not a big deal, but like late 90s, early 2000s. He almost played Anakin Skywalker. He's the kid in Sling Blade. He plays Pee Wee Reese in 42, which is a movie that has like become obviously like culturally more relevant now, like in the last couple of weeks.
Quarterback on Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, he's not a nobody actor. And like I think saying that Tokyo Drift is like the least important film in the franchise doesn't really matter. It's still like a movie that made almost $200 million and was like a huge big deal, and he's the lead actor. So it's tough. And like I do sympathize that's way harder than From Dusk Till Dawn, the Tarantino question that Dan got. But I think it still is like it's on. I think it should be on the table to ask something like that as a 2-pointer. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean Lucas Black he's the 6th from the top build on 42. I know there's some big names on that movie.
Yeah.
I
like
have
Harrison
his,
Ford and Chadwick and
I have his IMDb pulled up. He was in Jarhead. I mean, come on.
But even that, like, even if he wasn't in like almost any of those movies, I don't think that means that you can't ask about him.
Right. I feel like the 2 and 3 point questions can be easily, I don't know, interchangeable as far as difficulty. It just all depends on the person and what category you get.
There you go. Very, very true.
Yes.
Anybody else? Brian, Jill, do you guys have any thoughts on this one?
Do I have thoughts? Brian, would you like to go first? Or would you like to go first?
I said it on Twitter, and I mean, that was enough for the people that were upset that I subtweeted it. Tag him in it. I don't care. It didn't matter. You still missed the 5. So why? It didn't make a difference. I mean, I get it. You could have probably rallied up or something, but you still missed the 5. Like if you would have hit that 5, you would have won. I mean, don't take from the 2 when you could have. You had 2 chances. Mm-hmm. You had 2 chances. You could have gotten the 2 and the 3, or you could have gotten the 5, and you would have won. I mean, and let's be honest. There's 3 people of name in Tokyo Drift. Bow Wow, who I don't count, that's for sure, as the main lead. Sung Kang, who he was thinking of, which is a fair guess, but not in Furious 7. And Lucas Black. You picked the wrong one. You were thinking of the wrong one.
I don't think there's any argument that there's any other lead. Like if you've seen Tokyo Drift, the movie begins with him in the United States, and then he goes to Japan. Like the movie's not about Sung Kang. In fact, Sung Kang is like not even as prominent as Brian T in the movie who plays Drift King.
Yeah.
I think honestly, that's just like the word Tokyo is in the title, so it's the Asian guy. Is kind of how I feel like that gets thrown in there, and it's not like you knew Sun Kang either. So like,
exactly. If Sun Kang was the answer, it was you still wouldn't have said his name. It's just like, stop being a sore loser. You lost. Like, it's no one's fault but your own. Like, I'm just tired of certain players when they lose. It's everyone else's fault but their own. Like, there's a select few that refuse to recognize that they lost. Not anyone else. And if you had a problem with it, challenge it. If it's that big of a deal, make a point and challenge it. Like, I mean, if you're convinced that is not a valid argument or valid question and all this other stuff, that's what the challenges are for. You could make a point with it. You have a manager that you can back you up with it. But you accepted it and moved on. So it's like, it's not like his hands were tied. It's not like he didn't have a say in any of it. I'm frustrated with certain competitors that it's never their own fault that they lost. There's always a reason to why they've lost. And it's not all of them. It's only a handful. But it's just, yeah, I mean...
A lot of them are from the same faction, though.
Yeah, you're really trying to stir
the usual suspects. You guys are...
Yeah. Dude, I will not stop talking about losing my game.
I think Molly's had more challenges in one match than the whole entire faction has for her, but... yeah.
Dang it!
Sorry, I kind of derailed you right there.
No, that was
beautiful.
fine.
That was beautiful, Paul.
But I just whatever. Like, move on. Like, you lost. I get it. You put a lot of work into it, and I can't say that I compare and stuff like that. The amount of time you're putting into it, but it sucks. You move on. This isn't the first time you've gotten to compete for this too. Like, you had the same opportunity earlier in the year.
Well, that's what makes it more frustrating for him, I think, to be fair. Exactly.
It's
being so close. And that's what the frustration.
And that it being
it's one day after the match. And it's one day after the match. I think he might be singing a different tune a week, a month, a couple months from now. So I think it's I definitely understand being in that place of being super mega frustrated. Like, if I had lost this match to Snyder because the fan yelled that thing out in the crowd, I would still be talking about that.
Yeah.
To this day. So, like, I kind of get it.
Yeah. He had every
Jill?
right. Yeah.
Time is yours.
Jill has to take a deep breath before this.
I know. Hold on. I need to. I've literally gone through my entire cup of tea so I can not scream at the camera. So
also, this is important, but I do want to talk about other stuff from the match a little later because there are a lot of things that I think are not being talked about. No. I want to hear this rant. I want to hear the rant first. Go ahead, because we're on topic of this situation.
Okay.
Go ahead, unload.
Jill, should I just put you up on the screen?
No, please don't.
ISO Jill.
No, please don't. I am all about a Bateman heel turn. When he went full on heel after that match, I was stoked because I'm like, yes, Bateman is. I love Bateman better as a heel than as a face, and I think everyone agrees with me. Like,
heel Bateman is the best Bateman.
I don't think he was never really a face, to be honest.
No, he was never really a face. He was just
there. You go. Like Samir just said it. Heel Bateman is
best Bateman. And so when that heel turn happened, I was freaking thrilled, and I went, "Oh my gosh, maybe this is a lead up to my mind started going places. I'm like, maybe this is a slow lead up to maybe a team action reunion, which I'm sure everyone wants a team action reunion." And I was thrilled. Fast forward to 24 hours later, and I see someone tweeted a thing saying this whole rant about what?
Slow down, Jill.
We lost you. Hold on.
You're ranting faster than your internet
joined the
can handle.
Decepticons, I think.
There you go.
Am I back?
Yeah. You were just ranting
Sean
faster
went to
than
the
your
internet and unplugged it.
I was like, guys, my Ethernet is still in. No. And so anyway, fast forward 24 hours later, and I see a tweet from Ben Bateman basically saying that should not have been a 2-point question. That Lewis Black is not a star.
Lucas Black. Lewis Black is the anger
Paul,
guy.
I don't know actors, okay?
No, it's just funny because in the same match, he got a question about Lewis Black, so that's why a lot of people have been saying.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I gave that answer because it's Disney. But then I see this tweet, and then I'm like, okay, maybe this is in character. And then he doubles down and starts going after the question, which in my eyes is going after the question writers. If your first instinct of turning heel is to go after the question and the question writers, you've lost me. Ben is a better heel than that. And he, like, what he said after the match interview, blaming Gucci for him not having studied one of the biggest action franchises in the world, go with that. Don't go after the question writers. And you, like, do you know who gets to decide if it's a 2-point question or not? The question writers. So, like, people coming after them going, that's not a 2-point question. That's not a 2-point question. Yeah, it is, because they put it there. So it's a 2-point question in a championship match in your strength. Like, it both infuriated me and really made me sad, because I know Ben is better than that. He's a better heel than that. Like, and what Brian said, like, you also missed your 5 on a question that was literally asked about 2 days prior in Paul and Marisol's match. I knew that answer because it was said in Paul and Marisol's match. I went, isn't that the one that they answered about, like, 1408 or something? Like, he had all the luck in the world with a 5-pointer that was asked about a movie that was literally asked 2 days ago. Like, I don't know how much luckier you can get, but he's so focused on, like, apparently so focused on this 2-point question. And, like, I said it on Twitter. I've said it, I think, on our streams a bunch. It's really okay to admit that you don't know the answer to a question. There's nothing wrong with that.
Or you just messed up.
Or you just, like, everyone has those instances where you just get dealt a question that you don't know.
Kira.
Oh,
What nice.
I think that's not really not knowing. I feel like that's more of like a brain didn't.
that was
That's
a brain fart. I did know that.
I know. But like Dimolanta, for example. Dimolanta he said it. Dimolanta straight up admitted that he just didn't know his 5-pointer. It slipped through the cracks. That's okay. Like, it's I don't understand why that's so difficult for some people to just admit that they didn't know the answer to a question.
And
Like,
and I'll step in and kind of add to what you were talking about, Jill, about going after the question and the question writers, being the same thing. I do think that, if you have a disagreement with a question or something, like, that's fine. I understand that, but you kind of have to look at the questions almost as they're like a rule where they're decided for you and you just have to accept them. Mm-hmm. Like, just because you argue that it might not be a 3-point question doesn't mean they're going to change it to a 3-point question after the match, during the match, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of just have to accept the way that things happen, because those are the things that you don't have control over when you're a player in, whether it's movie trivia or sports. Like, it's how it happens, whether it's rules or, in this case, a question for a point value. Whether or not you disagree with it, you just have to accept it. You have to accept it. You have to try to answer it. If you don't answer it, guess what? You got it wrong. Like, you got it wrong, you move on.
And that's okay. And, like, I feel for Ben. I completely understand why he would be upset about losing this match. He has every right to be upset about losing this match. That's not my thing. Like, I feel for Ben so much. But stop. Like, there's so many other factors. Like, just don't. And this goes for any player. I don't care if you have been playing since season 1 or if you are brand new. As soon as you go after a question or a question writer, you lost me. Like, and like Brian said, if he disliked that question so much, you have a challenge for a reason. And PJ has said, I've seen him in comments saying that that's how they adjust things, and that's how they learn. That's why the challenge is there, so that they can tweak it and that they can fix things later on.
And no player has ever challenged the validity of a question in the point value that it was asked in.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's worth exploring.
Exactly.
I will disagree a little bit with you guys. I actually don't. I think there is room for conversations about whether questions do belong in certain categories and in certain point values. But I think, especially in that situation, if you have such an issue with it, I think you have to challenge.
Exactly, and then
make them answer the question. And if maybe afterwards, if they ruled the other way, maybe you want to start a discussion about whether that was true or not. That's different. But I think if you have a dispute with the way that it's categorized in terms of point value, you got to challenge that. And no one's challenged it, so it's not like there's any precedent against you.
Yeah.
All there is sort of whatever the decision comes to. And I think, someone like Ben is also way more likely to win that challenge than almost any other player in the league. So
yeah.
He won the challenge at Spectacular on one of the dumbest challenges I've ever seen. The thing about what men want, which is just blatantly was not correct at all, and he got the points for it. So why not challenge?
And that's the thing. Whether the challenge is awarded or not, shoot your shot.
They could have given him a new question.
They could have given a new question. So and you could see him thinking about challenging it. So whether or not he would have won the challenge or not, it even if he didn't win the challenge, it would have started a conversation as to what should the set kind of categories be for a 2-point question.
Do you think he challenges if he's playing someone else? I think there's a chance that if it's not Dan, someone in his faction and someone he respects so much, I think there's a decent chance that he does challenge the question.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot, Dan always is pretty vocal about sort of integrity and not wanting to win certain ways. And I almost wonder if that influenced Ben into not challenging.
That's also
maybe
valid.
to his detriment.
I think it was more of whatever. I'll just hit the 3 and the 5.
I don't think so. Because Ben hates 5s. He's talked about this many times.
Yeah.
He hates 5-pointers. It happened to him in Atlanta the first, when they played the first time. He just got a 5-pointer that's like, man, you got that 5-pointer against Roka too, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. That was kind of crazy. I don't think he would want to leave that to chance. And that's why it was so big for him to be up 6, is because you don't have to put your hand in that grab bag of 5 pointers.
Yeah.
I think challenges, especially now that things are virtual, challenges are so much harder to handle because in the live studio, you can kind of side-eye different people. You can side-eye your manager and see what kind of face they're making, or you can just see you can read the room a little bit. Virtual matches, challenges are just more difficult.
Then again, though, when you're in the studio, a lot of people are when there's challenges, a lot of people are just yelling their opinions, so it makes it kind of chaotic when it's someone challenges and some person who's just there, someone's girlfriend or something, their boyfriend that's there, just yells out some opinion about it, and it's total mania. That was subtweeting in conversation form. I learned that from Brian. But no, I almost.
God, give me a minute. I hope someone does. Go ahead. I don't care.
Maybe don't. Give the guy a break. He got dunked on pretty hard yesterday by if there's a shit on Twitter. So
everybody. But I kind of piggybacking off what Dwayne had commented, if we're gonna put this into WWE terms, if people go after somebody in WWE, they go after the McMahons. They go after Stephanie, they go after Vince, they go after Triple H. The writers are backstage people that they write the questions, they're not personalities.
And they don't get paid enough.
Are you saying Abby doesn't have a personality? How dare you?
They
You don't want to get Abby on this show.
Oh, Abby will come after you.
She's killing on the Tic Tac though, Brian.
The Tic Tac,
Yes, the Tic Tac.
Talks. But that's the thing. They're not personalities. They are there to
I have
write
that coming
questions.
for Kira.
And that's why I said Ben going after Gucci for that, 100% cool, 100% okay. When you bring a question or into a conversation, or in so facto the question writers, it brings kind of this mob mentality And then people start going after the question writers. And then the question writers shouldn't have to go into a Facebook group and defend themselves. Like, at the end of the day, that's just not how it should be. The question writers shouldn't have to defend themselves over something that they wrote, because they are the question writers and they get to decide if it's a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer or a 5. Like, the fact that they have had to literally go into a Facebook group and defend themselves is not okay. And that's not cool. And I will die on that soapbox and I will keep bringing it up. Like I said, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a rookie. I don't care if you've been here since season 1.
And it sucks because it dominates the rest of the match, because there's so many other interesting things to talk about in this match. I honestly think that the match is decided by so many other things, rather like the 2-pointer obviously would have swung the match, but there are so many other inflection points that I think you can point to as things that really mattered and like that are more interesting to talk about as well. I think like in terms of long-term implications too. So like that is kind of a bummer, is when, you know, you see a lot of comments on the, and then you look for it and it's just people yelling about
a 2-point question.
You know, yeah. So.
Which, yeah. And there was another match that had that same thing where it's like a controversy happened and we're like, we're not talking about this great match because people decided to make a controversy over something, and now everyone's talking about the
I think Ethan and Roka was the one, if that's what you're thinking about, because with the whole decade thing and then the whole Sergeant thing.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Jill, you also might be thinking of Guy Bateman, of Guy's personality and Bateman going perfect in the match. And that was never talked about.
Maybe that could have been too, because Bateman went perfect.
Yeah, well, you know, going perfect.
You know, other people can do that too.
Matter.
You know, apparently that
any random rookies off the street can do that. So is that really that important? Impressive? You know?
Yeah, look at Adam Collins.
That's Adam Collins, Ben, Paul, and Adam. Exactly.
Well, so since you brought it up, Paul, I want to know what do you think were some of the other moments in that match that were kind of swing moments?
Okay, so I think one that people might not think about too much is in round 1, Ben got out to an early lead when Dan missed the question about last flag flying. And I think especially against a player like Dan, especially when he's the favorite, you kind of have to protect that lead. And I think when Ben, I think he missed Vera Farmiga and Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah.
You just can't. You can't slip back. The same thing happened to me against Dan. Honestly, like when I missed the question about Cujo, what breed of dog it was, and I think against players like Dan, you want to be able to dictate the match, and that means you have to be ahead. You can't be tied against someone who's a defending champion. So I think that's a big one. Obviously, the 5-pointer that Ben got was a 1-point question in me and Marisol. So if you want to talk about sort of like values of questions and like difficulty. That was a 1-point question. Granted, we got the name of the actor instead of the hotel, but I almost think the hotel is like on par with John Cusack in terms of being a pretty famous piece of trivia. Like before I'd even started competing, back when I honestly didn't know that much about movie trivia, to be honest, guys, like 3 years ago. Like I knew what 1408 was because of the Dolphin Hotel, and like that was like a thing. I mean, maybe that's just a personal thing, but I think that
it's like the outlook for
Overlook.
The Shining. The Overlook. Yeah. Thank you. But you know what I mean. It's like the Overlook.
No, 100%. And then the thing is, too, it's like they also, when they asked that in our match, they also said the character name. And I think for me, that match was like a few days ago. That should have like, oh, Mike Enslin. This was just asked. Boom. That you just have to get stuff like that, I think. And like, obviously, like, you know, it's a Dan said he didn't know it either. So it's like not like it's a super easy layup question for everyone, but I think you got to be more attentive to the rest of the league sometimes when stuff like that's asked. You know, notice certain movies come up, you should probably pay more attention to them. And if something's asked, like it could be asked again, so you got to be prepared for that.
And that's the thing is like when Sean and I were studying Star Wars, the first thing we did was watch Star Wars matches, and so
you gotta get a feel for how they write the questions.
Exactly, you get a feel for how they write the questions, and if a movie is brought up, I feel like if a movie is brought up once, 9.9 out of 10 times it's going to be brought up again in some kind of capacity, you know. And the fact that that 1408 was literally asked 2 matches before his, and that he's on a show called Backstage where they talk about the matches, like I feel like everything was kind of given to him in that 5-pointer. And unfortunately, he just couldn't pull it. But like he had everything going for him in that 5. It was literally asked about. He's on a show called Backstage where they talk about the matches, and that's how I remembered that question. was because it was literally like I've never seen 1408. I just remember the previews for it, but I remember the answer to that question because it was in your match. I went, it's the 14. I might have said 1308, but like I knew what it was referring to. So, and like I said, I was heartbroken for Ben. I am still heartbroken for Ben for losing this match. I was rooting for him so hard in this, but like, it's okay to just say you didn't know a question. Like it's fine, guys. It's okay. It doesn't hurt your ego. It doesn't make you look like less of a player. Ben is still to this day and will be one of the best players in this game. Like, I don't know if anyone will disagree with me on that.
He kicked me up and down the street in December, so it's not like I'm a person to say that he's not worthy of being in that stature.
Like he could have TKO'd Dan Murrell. Like, and that's a gold medal to you for that. Like, that's amazing. You're an amazing player. And I understand that you're going to be kicking yourself over this match because it's kind of like a deja vu moment where he was ahead in Atlanta and he was ahead in this one and it still got out of his grasp. But Ben's a better heel than to just blame a question. He's a better heel and he has other things he can do to kind of, I don't know. I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I can talk about this forever.
Sean's gonna pull the internet cord.
Sean's gonna come in here. He's gonna open the door.
He doesn't even need to. Apparently, the internet's just like trying to cut it out of itself.
That's never happened before.
It's sentient.
That's never happened. My internet. It's because my roommates are watching the Princess Bride read-along thing that they're doing.
Oh, that had bad internet too. The connection was pretty terrible. It was kind of hard to watch, actually.
So anyway, I still respect that, but like,
here it goes.
What?
He's pulling the plug on you again.
Oh, the internet. It's just.
See, she's gone.
You don't need to pull the internet cord. But so, like I said, he has every right to be upset. And like when he lost that match, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna be kicking himself. And like I hurt for him. But like, dude.
Sorry, I just saw Tim Franco's comment.
Yeah, no.
Part of me also is always kind of wondering, like, anytime any player in this game tweets or puts something on Facebook or anything, I'm like, is this a character thing or are they being genuine? And sometimes I cannot tell.
Yeah.
And I worry that it's genuine when people think it's a character or vice versa. And I don't know. That's just another part of this game that people who aren't into wrestling like me, I'm like, what's happening here?
Same.
Yeah, but apparently they're on Team Action right now talking about how the question was bogus. So I'm going to assume column A, column B.
Yeah, they're over there right now. To kind of just move it forward a little bit from the question. No, you're fine. This is why we're here. We do this on Sundays so we can talk about that type of stuff. But
don't come after the
part
question
of this,
writers, or I'll come after you.
The next part of this would be
look at our comment.
What did we do?
Look.
Will's comment.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say. We actually have a couple who have already signed up. So, yeah, I've been getting the notifications on my phone. So, thank you to everyone who signed up on the Patreon. Thank you so much. But what I was going to say is that the next part of this is what happened with Gucci and all of that madness and the exchange versus Bateman, essentially. Something that we can talk about. And quite honestly, like from my perspective, I didn't think that it was going to be. I mean, I didn't know. I could have taken a guess on someone else on how the relationship and the end of the Finstock exchange would have happened. I didn't expect to see it happen like this. I didn't expect it to be Bateman because, I mean, all year long we've been talking about how good of a relationship Gucci and Bateman's relationship has been. Like they've kind of been like this tag team manager for the Finstock exchange for most of the year. And then all of a sudden, because of what happened, it all just flipped on its head. And we're talking about, Bateman being a heel and everything. This is a great heel move. This is a really good heel move, real good character move, setting stuff up for the future. And so although it was like, I was totally shocked by it and did not expect it, I enjoyed watching it because it kind of just flooded into some other stuff later on in the night and through the weekend and stuff. And it's like just really good character stuff between Bateman and Gucci and setting up things for down the road for future, seasons and stuff like that. I don't know how everybody else felt about it, but that's kind of my thought process into it.
I was when like because I've been saying this whole time. Sorry, I'm gonna jump in. I've been saying this whole time. If Gucci is gonna keep because every manager gets to keep 3 people. I've been saying from the beginning, one of them is gonna be Bateman. Like because they're kind of I feel like they were kind of like this package deal. Like Bateman was kind of helping Gucci manage and they were like because Roka has said multiple times that he does not want Gucci as his manager. And Dan is gonna go where Roka goes. So I was like, okay, so he's going to keep Bateman. And now, apparently that's not going to be a thing. He said, although he did say, I'm not 100, he's like 99% sure.
That was literally
so good.
This is fine.
That was Twitter yesterday.
Fine.
Swear to God.
This is fine.
I mean, I'm not surprised because honestly, like, it was a pretty rough managing job, I think, by Gucci. He was in a weird spot, but like
Very weird.
He tried to talk both players out of like keeping their category, and they didn't listen to him. So like ultimately, like his feedback didn't really mean much there.
Mm-hmm.
He was being kind of confusing and vague. Like in the betting round, it didn't sound like he was really keyed into what his players wanted or what his players wanted to do.
No.
So I just think that it's just a kind of a rough showing for him, and he's in a weird spot where he obviously he pretty much has to keep Dan. I think if Ben won, I think then it would have made a little more sense for him to have kept Ben at the end of the season. But I think that if they're willing to stay, I think he might end up with Founding Fathers again, which is kind of funny because like it's such a weird mismatched sort of thing. I just think if Ben does that whole speech after the match and then goes back to him, that's a little strange, I guess.
Yeah.
It did set up what seems to be like him and Barbarian going somewhere together because that was the one.
That's what
it's like
hinted at.
But then again, it's kind of like the thing where I think it was Mike, right, had said that one time where everyone was not supporting him, but Roka was the only one in the crowd, like rooting him on. But that didn't really lead anywhere. So I guess like there's a possibility that doesn't necessarily lead to anything. But it certainly sounded like he's either going to team with Barbarian or at least go where he goes. And I think if that happens, that's a disaster for Gucci, just because those two guys are so instrumental in the way that their faction prepares and they do like a lot of the, they always talk about those two guys do all the training for their players and help them prepare strategy wise and stuff. So I wonder how much he's going to suffer if those two guys both leave.
To be fair, if Ben and Barbarian form a team, I'm all for that because that's what I wanted to happen for the teams tournament. I was rooting for a Bateman Barbarian team. So when that was hinted at, I was like, oh, it's going to happen. So at the end of the day, I want Team Action to come back together. So whatever we have to do to make that eventually happen, I am game for.
I think that's what everyone kind of wants. And I think that's what they're headed towards.
I don't think that's what Ben wants.
Really?
It's just going to be a convoluted way to get there. If Ben doesn't want it, I don't know. Maybe
I think Ben wants a title, and I just don't think Andrew Guy can get Ben a team's title. I just don't think that's
what if it's
interest.
a Bateman Barbarian team managed by Andrew Guy?
That's something that I thought about too. I don't know if Guy wants to necessarily step back, and that would be. I think it's better for the league that he's in the league, just because he's just such a wild card that you just never know what can happen. So you can kind of schedule him against almost anybody, and he's got a good record, so that's also good. Like if people beat him, that makes them look better as well. But that'd be interesting. I think that would make a lot of sense, honestly, if you think about sort of the way that Guy's trajectory has been. So if it's something where he doesn't want to play next season, I could certainly see him stepping into that kind of role potentially.
And we saw him manage, I want to say Jeannie earlier this year, stepping in for Sam.
Yes.
At the beginning of the year. So I mean, it's already kind of, he did it once. Why not do it again? Which would be fun. I just don't know who he would replace essentially. So I don't know how that would all happen. So
I
think Barbarian and Demonta stay on Finstock, and the rest is just let the chips fall.
Yeah, I think Barbarian goes where Ben goes. I think.
Me too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if are you like, say you're picked by, like, say Gucci picks Barbarian, can you say no? I don't want to.
I think so. Yeah, it has to be like a mutual thing.
Okay.
You have to like sign the
then if that's the case, then I definitely think that Barbarian's gone because I think he's going to go with Bateman. I do. After what's gone on this weekend, I definitely think he'll probably go with Bateman.
But do you guys honestly think? Here's the factor of it is, by that happening, we are now just saying bye, Riley, and just.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think I don't think
happening.
I don't think Ben is at all interested in playing with Who's the Boss anymore.
Yeah.
I just think there's a ceiling, and I think they've kind of hit it with where the team's league is at right now. I just like they're obviously a very good team and they could beat almost any team, but I think that especially where they are like sort of positionally, they'd have to win a bunch of matches in a row, and I just don't think they feel like they can do that right now. And it just feels like that partnership is not working necessarily for them right now. I could be wrong, but I don't see that. I don't see them playing together again.
Yeah, I don't either.
I would agree.
Unfortunately, because I love Riley.
Now, I'm curious though, if Finstock doesn't keep them, do they just go Ben and Barbarian? Do they just fall into the draft?
No, they would go to. I think no, they would. Another team would sign them. There's no way they would go into.
There's a signing period before the draft, Brian. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say that could be kind of interesting, because then it's just like I'll just grab you in the draft and you don't really have a choice. But if there's a signing period, then never mind.
Yeah.
I almost wish that everyone was free game because that would be so much more interesting. I think.
I agree. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see it.
Like I
all go
totally
down,
understand.
every
Like
player.
a lot of players probably just wouldn't even want to play in teams if it was with some random person that they're not sure of. But it's just like that would be so much more exciting, and the draft would be like that would be crazy. You know, like seeing like what team like Dan Murrell would end up with, like not as strong of a partner probably because he's probably going to be picked first. That person's probably picking at the end of round 2. What is that going to look like for the team's division? It would shake everything up and make it interesting, but then also it's tough because then you kind of throw team records out the window every year. So it's kind of a balance that you have to juggle. But some sort of thing like that eventually I think would be really fun to see like a real draft from the ground up. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Alex was pissed he didn't get put on a team with Jericho.
That would be such a freaking fun.
Can you
I mean-
imagine?
Could you imagine Paul and Lon versus Jericho and Alex? Oh
Cowards.
my goodness.
Cowards.
That'd be fun. Lon
Alex in
versus
singles.
Jericho. Oh my god. Lon versus Jericho. That'd be
Jericho would be
incredible.
no, Jericho would understand because he's a freaking wrestler. Because I was like, Jericho would be so confused as to what's happening, but no, he's literally a wrestler. So he
I mean,
would
I'm pretty
totally be
confused by
into
what's
it.
happening, and I'm his partner.
Being his partner, I feel like you are also freaking confused.
You know,
I just want Lon. I want Lon to play Tom really bad.
Lon and Tom would be.
is that the shortest possible name combination of any
Lon and
player?
Tom.
Yeah. Well, we had Tim and Tom. We had Tim and
Tim and
Tom.
Tom.
Yeah,
Tom.
that's true.
Just one letter away.
Oh God,
Saving a lot of money on
I-
graphics there.
Yeah.
Switch a letter out.
That'd be the quickest Nerd Chronic gets his stuff done in a day.
Yeah.
God.
Okay,
Man.
so we've touched on the question. We've touched on the managers. Anybody have any final thoughts on the? I mean, we haven't talked a lot about Murrell, obviously, because this is the Bateman conversation. But going into the match, Murrell he's been touted as the GOAT for a long time. I think it's like even hammered the nail even farther in than it was beforehand after this match. And he goes into spectacular, waiting for the winner of the singles tournament. Paul, from your perspective, seeing this match and seeing how he came back and everything, is he better than ever right now?
I think what makes Dan the greatest player of all time, it's never been that he's dominated in every match. There's really only like 3 matches in singles he's played in which I think he would beat anybody on that day. I think if you look at the way he played against Sam in his defense at Collision, the way he played in New York against Ethan Irwin, and then the way he played at the Triple Threat earlier this year, but he wins because he does just enough every time, and that's what makes him such a dangerous player. Is he always puts himself in a position where there is just always pressure on his opponent to win. And he has a lot of KOs, but a lot of that is just he plays well and his opponents just kind of get in a rut and struggle, I think. He just does, again, he does just enough to win every time, and that's what makes him so great, is that I think clutch is a bit of a fraught thing, especially with questions are kind of random, so would this person get this question on this day or that day? Doesn't really matter. But like, he just does what he needs to do to succeed. And I think even down big in this match, he looked like he was almost ready to give up. I think you noticed like he was really down on himself. And I wonder, if Ben is more of a heel, does he dig into that more? Does he kind of poke and prod a little bit? And does that throw Dan off even more? You never know. But again, Dan just does this thing where he just always does enough to win. And the floor for his play is so low, or so high. I mean, like his worst match is always going to be good. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to play perfect every time just because he always shows up and puts pressure on the opponent to do the same. It was just a crazy crazy kind of happened. I mean, one of the crazy things for me is like he gets Hitchcock and he, does well in the category. He gets the question about the birds correct.
Yeah.
And then he gets the question about the birds in the betting round and doesn't. That's like a crazy thing that happened. So like, he just weathers the storm. I think that's always the story of Dan Murrell is he does just enough, and that's why he's the greatest. It's like Michael Jordan in the late '90s. He wasn't dominating, but the Bulls would just find a way to win.
True. Molly, thoughts on Dan Murrell?
I mean, I've seen him play more times live, I think, than I've watched his matches. And he's always just so chill. Like him and Alex both have a very similar demeanor about themselves as far as like leading up to the match and like preparing. He's just like chilling in the corner, talking to Mara, like, and it's like, hey, how's it going? Are you nervous? And he's like, nah. I'm just ready to play. Like he's just freaking really good at trivia. Like some people just have the brain for it, and he has that brain. And it's a treat to watch. And I think he got lucky with this win, and Ben kind of got unlucky / maybe stepped in a little bit.
I mean, everyone who wins is lucky. The questions are gonna be random, or you don't know if the questions are ever gonna be. Even if it's a category, you don't know what you're gonna get asked. So everyone who wins is lucky. Like people are like, "Oh no, Dan's good. He's not lucky."
It was like me getting 16 points in that one match the other day. Me, who does not watch movies, got 16 points in a match. It all there's some days you're just gonna be lucky. Like that's part of the game. Exactly.
And I've seen people saying that like, oh, if things were turned around, Dan wouldn't be acting the way that Ben had acted if he had lost. And that may be true, but I still like Ben just wanted it so badly, especially after the Atlanta match, and Dan was just surprised to keep the win. And I don't know. It's always a treat to see Dan play, and he's just a good sport, I think, most of the time. So that's always good in a player to be a good sport.
Brian?
I said it. I mean, to ever pick against Dan Murrell, unless you're playing Paul Oyama.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Or corruption, apparently.
Or corruption. That is true. But yeah, I mean, Dan's great. To be honest, the thing I was most curious, piqued my interest. Yeah, seriously. The thing that piqued my interest the most was when he started talking about inner geekdom. I'm like, oh,
well, that's his.
Yeah,
that's
never
what
happened.
happened.
That was like so teased, and it just never.
I know.
Well,
so
he
one
talked
thing he
about
hasn't
it.
done.
He said that going into that league, into Inner Geekdom or Star Wars, and we there's a lot of us who can confirm it's basically like a second job, like. And I think he said that where he's like, if he wouldn't do it if he's still in singles and teams, he would have to drop out of one of those to consider it. Which, hey, Robert.
I mean,
I can just see Robert going excellent.
Can you imagine Mara training him for IG?
Mara.
I don't think that they would train together. I think.
Oh, come on!
Yes, they would.
Of course they would.
Me and Alex train
Alex
together.
Amoli.
It's no secret.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see a little bit of competitiveness going on in that.
Well, they would
area.
train together until there's a possibility that they would have a match together, and then Mara would be like, "No, I'm going to dominate." Sorry, but I would be very interested in seeing Danny IG.
And to speak to Robert in the comments, Robert, I don't know if you want the smoke of playing a player who's primarily singles and teams coming into IG. Not sure if that went so well for you last time.
Listen, Paul, don't you dare come after Robert while I am here. Don't you dare.
That's my guy. That's my guy. But if you want to blow smoke in the comments, don't be surprised when it blows back in your face.
Paul.
Man.
Are we getting a heel turn again, Paul? Are we getting a heel turn? What is happening?
Never.
Okay, so we do have a couple Streamlabs that have come through. I want to make sure I get to these just real quick. So we have 3 of them. So Kylie donated. Thank you so much for the donation, Kylie. Super excited for you guys' Patreon. Can't wait. Thanks for being an awesome and accepting show. So I was curious, how do you think free agency and trades will affect the draft next season? And Jake, you're now 6th favorite on the show. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's only 5 of us on screen right now, so thank you.
They're coming after you.
It's going to be
Molly's
interesting. I mean,
Baby Yoda Funko Pops are probably.
There you
go.
go.
I
There you
also
go.
have Baby Yoda.
I'm just waiting for someone to call out the fact that Molly put Alex's slice behind her.
Oh yeah, did you guys see that? Wait, where is it?
Oh,
There it is.
I didn't.
I had to
There
go
you go.
downstairs and dig it out. It was like in a random drawer and like folded. And
My Andrew Guy slice is so far away, and I'm lazy to get up right now. I'm not going to put it up.
I mean, we kind of touched on the free agency thing a little bit earlier, just with the specifics of Bateman. I mean, it's going to be massive. The fact that you can only keep 3 players and up to 7 are going to go to other places is going to be very interesting. A lot of teams are going to be no more, and it's going to be fun to see, that's for sure. I think it's going to shake things up, not to the point like what Paul said about putting everybody in the draft, but it's going to shake things up enough to be very interesting going into a new season. So
I'm curious to see who chooses not to stay.
There's going to be a couple. I bet you.
And
there's
I think
gonna be a handful.
that's gonna stir some pots, and people are gonna.
Do you think anyone who is
mad.
signed in free agency is going to be one of the 3 kept? I think Collins is a strong possibility.
Collins
I-
is a
I-
possibility,
I do
depending
think
on
that
how he
yeah.
continues.
But that
Do you
that
think
throws
Laura will
out
be the
window.
priority?
I
Yeah.
think
I don't
But I think you have a better
Molly-
odds of getting Laura in the draft, I think, than you do. Of
That's
Collins.
true,
I
and
think someone will
I've
take
said that.
Collins
I've
really
said that
early.
before too. That I don't think anyone is going to keep their Star Wars player as like one of the 3, because I feel like they're all just going to end up in the same faction anyway, unless something happens. That's just always been my kind of feel, but I could be completely wrong, because I would not be at all be surprised if Shannon keeps Laura as one of her 3. I would not at all be surprised.
I would be a little bit, I think. I mean, I guess it depends how they like, especially how their singles tournament and the teams tournament goes.
Yeah.
But I think as of now, it's just hard to deny. And Adam will be in such a good position next year. You don't know what Laura's path is going to look like.
Yeah.
Because she's not, Demon Wanta has that title match. Like, is Laura going to be playing Molly next year, potentially in like some kind of match to set up the number one contender
Please
match?
have Laura and Molly play each other. We all want that so bad. We
There's
want
just
Laura
too
and
much.
Molly.
There's a lot up in the air, I think, with that. So I think, and then Collins, maybe he has played in geek leagues in the fan leagues. Maybe he plays Intergeekdom next year, and maybe he's a 3 divisional player. You kind of can't deny that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's true too.
I hate to be the a-hole, but I'm curious to see what Swag does, because there's 4 solid people, and you're
There's
only
so
keeping
many
3.
people in swag.
I know,
There's
but
so many
Four
people.
solid people. Excuse you,
4.
Brian.
4.
Put some
okay,
respect on our names.
4.
There's 2. No, I'm just kidding. It's just me and Ron. No.
But I mean, like, as Swag, those 4 people have been playing a lot for Swag. So who's getting the chop? That's
Yeah.
what I'm curious about.
Some of
A
these
lot of people
managers
saying
have
ace.
some
A lot of
difficult-
people saying ace.
This was the first time I worked with a faction, so I'm like, I don't care if I stay or go.
You just
Just
want to
Molly-
play.
Wow,
Molly-
ringing
Molly-
endorsement of Sam Levine. Ringing endorsement.
Molly's
you're going to
just
Koi.
that.
You're going to Koi.
Yeah, we.
Go to
already
oh my
established
god, you would if oh my god, after everything that's happened with Koi on our show, if you got to Koi,
Yeah.
just
Molly
the
is the-
promos themselves of Koi going, "You never root for our faction," and then like he picks you, like, oh, that'd be so good.
But
So
Sam's
good.
my challenger, though. He challenges things for me so I don't have to.
That's true.
True.
That's true.
I just think Molly's. Just tell me where to go. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Molly
just
just
tell me
has
where to
to
go.
play. Molly
Tell me
just
where
has
to go, and I'll be like, maybe.
She's actually founding her own solo faction and will be competing against every other faction.
it. Ooh.
And defeating all of them.
Yeah.
Going
Put me in
rogue.
singles, you
Going
coward.
rogue.
You better
There
watch
you go,
out.
from
Someone's gonna
Parker.
call you and say, "Put you in singles."
There you go
She
from
said
Parker.
she wanted to go. She said she wanted to go
Ooh.
singles.
Could I manage?
Ooh, you as a manager would be rad.
I mean, you do have
Yeah.
a.
I mean, you do manage already.
Yeah.
I've been managing Alex Alex since he started this.
Ooh, shots fired. Roxy Strider, where are you at?
I mean, Roxy's great at giving advice for the game, but no one can coach
No one can
Alex on
compliment
Star
those
Wars.
numbers like
You know how
Roxy.
to pick
sexy
some
numbers.
numbers.
Yeah, the sexy numbers. That's all it is.
Okay, so we do have another Streamlabs here from Tachyon, and he or she says, if I'm Ken, I'm not keeping any of my players. I signed Bateman, Goddard, and the Barbarian as my 3 protected players. Use the first overall pick to draft a partner for Goddard, then use the first round pick from the Ethan Irwin trade to draft Scrimshaw for Star Wars.
Wow.
If I'm Ken, I'd dump the team and run.
No, I think they're honestly in a great position just because there are these players who are dissatisfied with their factions and there's a chance to pick them up. I don't know that I would use one of my 3 spots on Ben Goddard personally. But yeah, should be interesting.
Ooh, shots fired, Jill. Shots fired, Jill.
You just in the den here, Paul? You just in the den?
No, he's probably going to be staying with the Den because he's there. The Den is, such a pillar of a faction. I would never, ever, possibly.
Well,
Yeah, see, I don't think Coy would pick me because it would be ridiculous for him to drop Scrimshaw for me as a Star Wars player.
Yeah, but you got to figure he has Bibbs, he has Brendan. Who is that third person? Is he really going to pick Scrimshaw over Perry, who's doing great? The real rejects are amazing as well. Kevin Smith. I mean,
I would honestly not be surprised if Kevin Smith is his keeper. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So,
Knowing Coy, who's there to like have a good time and to have fun, would not be surprised.
I mean, he did leave a blank spot open all year long until he was able to sign.
To take Kevin Smith. That's literally why he left the spot open.
Definitely possible. All right, we have one more.
I was going to say, I think the only safe Star Wars person would be Alex, but that's if Alex chooses to stay.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a mystery.
Questions.
I actually think Alex will be better in a better position to score points next year if he loses at Spectacular. Like, this is not even a bit, but because he'll get an auto rematch because of how many defenses he has. So get the auto rematch, and then he'll probably get a defense after that. So I almost for points sake, it would almost be better for him for next season.
He's
to be
not
in
gonna.
that position.
He's trying to manipulate over here.
I mean, no. I just said, it's not even like a faction bit. Like, I honestly do think that.
No, it's a high probability. Squadrons comes out in October. I don't know how much studying I'm going to get him to do. Well,
he's been playing a lot of Fall Guys.
Well, he's already trying to get Ace to watch other movies other than Star Wars. So clearly, his mind's on other things right now.
As soon as the NBA playoffs end, then Ace will be fine. That's the big hang up with Ace is he's distracted.
Basketball's happening.
Alex
right.
is over here just playing Star Wars video games.
So Tim Sim sent in a Streamlabs. Thank you so much, Tim. Regarding Dan Murrell, he has the second opportunity to be the first singles champ to get 3 consecutive title defenses and 1 title reign against a single tourney winner. The main event is spectacular. The first being against Roca in early 2017. That's great. That's crazy. That's
why I was rooting for Ben, is because Dan is more likely to defend, therefore keep the points in the Finstock exchange. He's also undefeated at Spectacular. He's never lost at Spectacular, so yeah, tough. But it is great. It is great that at the end of this big singles tournament, the person we have to look forward to, like at the end of the end of the tunnel, is Dan Murrell. That's, I think, the best sort of reward for winning the tournament is to play the biggest of all time.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then one more, Canada Rock stepped in and said, besides Ken, do you think there are any managers that won't be returning next year? And what are the chances Riley retires and manages? I mean, that's interesting. That's an interesting question, the latter half of that. I would say out of all the managers right now, other than Ken, I would probably say Kate. That's probably my opinion, just because out of all the managers, every other manager was completely involved in the Schmodown. I know Shannon was not technically involved, but the love of her life is, the love of her life.
Shannon ain't going nowhere.
Exactly. So I'm gonna say Kate, just because out of all of the managers right now, she was the least involved to begin with, and so maybe they find someone to replace her for the day. Because originally that spot was supposed to be MF5 anyway. So who knows what happens?
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. Maybe. My other questionable thought would be Sam.
Sam, yeah, that's the other one that I think is sort of
a good call too. That's a good call.
Just because, the man's a working actor, so you
Yeah.
never know. But there's no way Winston, and we're not letting Winston go because he's
No.
too awesome.
No,
There's no
Winston's
way
dead.
Roxy's leaving. There's no way Koi's leaving. There's no way Gucci's leaving, and there's no way in hell Shannon's leaving, and
No.
same with Kaiser. So I mean, that leaves those ones.
Yeah.
So maybe Kate. I don't know, but Sam's a high probability as well.
I agree. Sam being an actor, life takes precedence, and
And he's getting married.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's not
True.
a small thing.
to a very
That's
important
true.
person.
Yes.
Maybe that could affect Riley's like status in the showdown too. Like, will married life be different for him with that?
That's
Yeah.
very true. Once
Yeah.
all this is over, too. Yeah, that's.
I mean,
Let
I'm
the
married to
after
the
show be
I'm married to the
the
game myself, so I can't leave ever.
Married to
Locked
the
in.
game.
I think
Let the
Alex and I
after
are
shows-
married to Star Wars. So
you are.
we're
Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm married to Sean because that's what everyone just thinks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let the after show people be the managers. There's enough of
Oh,
us.
Jesus. That'd be wild.
I'll do it.
We'll see about that.
Ugh.
I mean, look, there's already people.
I see
There
you,
you
Kylie.
go.
I see
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
I see you. I'll do it. Heck, I
Um,
managed this one. I'll do it.
This one.
Manage this one.
All right. Well, we have no more Streamlabs at the moment, so I think that's a good time to call that a show for tonight.
I need Tim Sim needs to reveal his secrets. How he gets.
How do you always
the
get in
after
those
shows.
after Q&A things, Tim? What is your secret?
yeah, that's
We
a
need
good
your
question.
secret. Talk to us
question.
after.
super fast.
That's just
Yeah,
payment for doing the preview, for doing like the match previews.
That's
Like,
true.
You get
first
to be in a
line.
Q&A. Oh, that's fair. Robert's already married to Sean. That's true.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up POV tonight. Paul, thank you so much for hanging out, joining us. We appreciate it, man. Just before we go, can anywhere find you online? Can they check you out on Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I tweet occasionally. Paul_Oyama. Letterboxd is kind of the big thing if you're interested in what kind of movies I'm watching, what I think of them, and such. Just search my name on there. I will be on the First Cut channel soon. We're doing a review
Nice.
of Legend of Korra season 4. Me and Ace are doing that
Nice.
together.
That's this one and Alex. That's the
Yeah,
other thing
and-
that's gonna
We're
stop
watching
them
season
worrying
2
about.
right now. I love it.
Oh, we'd love to talk about that. But yeah, and then you can just kind of find me around talking about movies and sports and such. But kind of
He's
those are
around.
the two big things.
Cool. Molly?
I'm on Twitter at Molly Damon. Me and Alex are on YouTube at Star Wars Explained, and we're also on Twitch. I'm on Twitch at Molly Damon. You can find me yelling loudly about Fall Guys and such.
Brian?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Biavalacino, and I think I might throw my hat into this Twitch realm.
Yes,
I did
join us.
I did just purchase one of those, whatever they're called, that allows you to do
Capture
it.
cards?
Yes, that. We'll see.
Do it.
Computers.
Jill?
Yes,
Computers.
computer. That's exactly what
Can you
it
find yourself a
video game
computer? I'm Jilly Marie everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, and also Twitch, which I recently started. I'm not on there a lot, but usually if I have time to kill and I have nothing else to do, I am there shooting the breeze and playing some Fall Guys, usually. But yeah, mostly Twitter is where I'm at. Come hang out and watch me rant about mostly Schmodown stuff.
You can find me. I just put that up, Brian. Good
I know.
lord.
I just wanted to-
We just wanted to say it again. We want to
yeah,
say good luck
Twitter-
again. Saying
He's
it.
Twitter and
he's a
Instagram.
diehard drip, so you
That's
know.
true. That's true.
True.
Twitter and Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake. I am not on Twitch. You can just find me on social media.
Not
You can
yet.
find, we'll see. You can find us on Twitter at POV. You can hit us up on Streamlabs. You can find some cool POV merch up on TeePublic. The links are all in the description. Also, if you missed the beginning of the show, our Patreon is live. Thank you to all those who have already joined and supported us. We appreciate that. And if you're interested, hit that link and go check it out. So for now, for Paul, Molly, Brian, Jill, and myself, thank you so much for joining POV tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys the rest of the week.